Welcome, loves, to another episode. Again, you will probably see that this is slightly different to a standard episode, and that is because I am posting a recorded group coaching call that I hosted in my free support group, which was in August. So if you watch this, listen to this, and you want more, then join my free support group. I do random coaching calls to support you through anything that you're struggling with. And also, I have my paid group coaching where we go even more in depth and we have regular calls. You have all the modules from my Body Love Binge program and direct access to me in there as well. So enjoy this recording. I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it because even if we're not being coached, when we're watching other people, I've had a lot of feedback about this and I've experienced this with myself too. When we're watching other people get coached, if we're open to it, we learn a lot about the stuff that we're perhaps struggling with by listening and watching others being coached around the same kind of topic. So enjoy. Let me know your thoughts and feedbacks on this, and I will see you next week. Much love. I have on my list, and we'll have time for more. Those that would like coaching today is Georgia, Katinka, and Cecilia. So if anyone else would like coaching, you are more than welcome. So let's dive straight in with the lovely Georgia. How can I help you today, Queen? Can you just unmute yourself? I will ask you to unmute. Are you there, Georgia? If not, we'll come back to you. Okay, Katinka, are you there? I think you're there. There she was. Hey, long time
Hello.
no see.
Yeah, so nice to see you again.
You too. How are you doing?
Mm, I'm doing good, thank you. I'm on holiday at the moment, so just enjoying that and getting some rest. But I was looking forward very much to the call. I have to be honest, I have struggled a little bit with Circle. I don't know why, like since we switched the platform, I've I don't know, lost connection to the group calls and all of that. So really nice to be back. Um,
Glad to have you back.
yes, and yeah, I would just love some support to like get back um yeah, kind of on track with things. Like I have like all the knowledge and but I think I just need to hear things like once again on a few things. So basically since like the trauma that I had like at the beginning of the year, I'm finding myself now in a period where I don't feel like I'm in food freedom. I feel like food is controlling me. I'm eating, loads at times where I'm actually not even hungry. And I have the awareness that I'm compensating because I'm either sad or I'm either lonely or I'm either stressed or tired and I need energy or bored or like it can be at many times for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my main thing is that like I just don't feel well afterwards. And I'm at a place where my immune system is already feeling a little weak. And so I'm not helping myself by not nourishing myself properly. And, at times I'm like just eating, and I'm not even enjoying the foods that I'm eating, if that makes sense.
Yes, makes sense.
And so as a result of all of this, I've like put on a bit of weight and, I have all the tools. I know I want to love my body and I'm so thankful for everything it can do, but I can still see myself having those limiting thoughts of, uh-oh, watch out, like you're gaining weight and, still having those limiting beliefs about
Wonderful. So, as promised,
I can't go more than like a certain weight or then this and this will happen, blah, blah, blah. So I'm falling back in like old patterns. So looking forward to some motivation and
to
support.
realign you back to where you know you want to be. Okay.
Yes.
So, first question I have for you is tell me what choices you have. We'll get into body image in a moment, but specifically
Mm.
around the way you're experiencing your relationship with food. Tell me what your choices are. What choices do you have?
So in my opinion, I have two choices. One is to keep going with this pattern,
Mm-hmm.
which I have this conflicting thing, and I know you're gonna tell me this, but of like, if I'm doing this, I must want it, then there must be a reason. But I feel
Yes.
in a conflict because, like, in a moment where, for example, I'm not hungry or I'm not craving, do that because I don't feel good afterwards and it's not aligned with my values and it's just not the life I want for myself. But then I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like I have no willpower.
Oh, willpower's an interesting word to use, right?
Mm.
So another
So
question.
sorry, my choice was like
Yeah.
either continue this pattern or just you're gonna tell me off, but or make the decision to stop doing that.
I'm never going to tell you off. I'll reflect back to you what you're saying in a skilled way. So I have a question for you around that. What's
Mhm.
stopping you from choosing not to have the food that you know you don't want without it being from a place of restriction, choice instead? What's stopping you from just being like, you know what? I don't want that. Because what I'm hearing is you're saying you don't want the things that you're eating, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the gold is the answer to that question. What's stopping you from choosing not to, not from restriction, though?
So instinctively, I want to say like low willpower.
Tell me what willpower is. In your opinion, what does willpower mean?
It means making a choice and committing to that choice.
Okay. So, in my opinion, willpower has nothing to do with choice because willpower, again, this is my opinion and my experience from binging and all that as well, is trying to make myself do something that I actually don't want to do, or vice versa, trying to stop myself from doing something that actually part of me really wants to do, which is why you need the iron will, the power to stop my desires type of thing. I don't know if that resonates with you or if you see it in a different way.
Can you say it again one more time, please?
Yeah, so willpower to me means stopping myself doing something that I want, or
Hmm.
vice versa, making myself do something I don't want to do. Otherwise, you wouldn't need willpower. You would just
Mm.
choose and then you would just do it or not do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so in my words, so willpower is doing is forcing you to do something you don't want to do, right?
That's what I
Otherwise, you
feel
wouldn't
like
need
it
it.
is. Yeah, because
Mm.
willpower doesn't come into choice. Effort can come into choice. Let's say talking about the gym, and I choose to train at the gym 3 times a week. I have to use effort to go, and it's not every day I'm like, yay, let's go to the gym. Sometimes I'm like, okay, the gym's on my schedule, my body can handle it, like, let's just do it. And it takes some effort, but I'm not using willpower. I think willpower comes in when you feel like there's some fighting going on within yourself.
So do you think I'm using the wrong word? I should say effort instead of willpower, or do you think
It's not really
no?
about the word, it's it's how you feel and what it means to you. So I'm
Mm.
hearing though from what you're sharing is there's definitely still judgment about you eating the food even if you don't want it. Would you agree?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, yeah,
judgment.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So part of you thinks it's not okay.
Yeah.
So I would work on that. So even though you are very clear that perhaps you don't want the food, you eat the food and you don't feel good physically after, it's still
Hmm.
okay because it's just food. But in your head, in your psyche, it's something bigger than just food. Like, let's give me an example of when you've done something you've not really wanted to do before that has nothing to do with food. Can you give me an example of what something like that might be?
Do you mean like, for example, like meditating in a morning where I wasn't really feeling like meditating? Something like that?
Any something where you've done something where where you generally felt like you didn't want it. So like you're saying, I'm hearing you say you know you don't want and need the food. And just for everyone who's in the restrictive mindset, I've known Katinka for a while and I assume you're eating enough, you're nourishing yourself, you're not
Mm.
restricting. So you're nourishing yourself enough. Like in
Yeah,
general
yeah,
for a long time.
yeah,
So that's a really
yeah,
important part of this conversation for those that don't
sure.
know. But so, like you're saying, you don't want the food, and when you do eat it, you feel shit after physically.
Hmm. Yeah,
So obviously, in the obvious world, which we don't live in because we don't live in an ideal world, we would just choose not to do it if we don't want like the feeling after. But there's a reason that's stopping you from just simply choosing not to do it. And it's, in my opinion, it's because of this judgment you have around having the food, even if you don't want it. So, have you ever gone for a wee when you've not needed the toilet, but you've gone on a long journey, for example, and you go to the toilet before you go, just in case?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So, why don't you have a weird emotional feeling about that or judgment about that when you didn't actually need a wee? Your body didn't tell you you needed a wee.
Because I think for the simple reason that that's like eliminating like liquid out of the body, whereas this is like inputting, it's like the input versus output. I think that's,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
what would it mean? Why is it not okay to eat when you don't want to eat?
because I don't feel good afterwards.
Okay, so so tell me some physical sensations that you feel that don't feel good after you've eaten these things.
Mainly like super full and super bloated and tired and just not like the energized person I want to be.
Okay.
Built the
And then tell me what the food gives you in the moment you're eating it.
like I guess a relief from that I need to eat it.
Interesting. So relief. What else?
Like taking away the thought of food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, oh, I want to eat this, I want to eat this, I want to eat this. Like once I eat this, then that's kind of gone.
Yeah. Any pleasure?
Like really small.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So the relief is an interesting word because you said the relief from needing to eat it. Why do you need to eat it?
Well, it's weird because I obviously don't need it, but it's like an obsession.
Part of you feels like scared, has fear around not eating the food. Would you say that's true? There's part of you that feels quite anxious about not eating the food that you are have been eating.
Yeah, like for example, I just had lunch and I was like, I don't need something sweet at the end of it, but I felt like a little anxious not to have like one piece of chocolate or something like that.
Yeah. So why do you always have to need food? Why can't you just want food?
I'm okay with that, but it's like when I don't want and I don't need, it's almost like it's just a habit.
Yeah. So what would happen if you gave yourself permission to not have the food? How would that feel?
But I already feel like I have that permission. I'm just not using it.
Yeah. And there's a reason why. So going back to eating brings you relief,
Hmm.
and then eating what you're describing afterwards makes you feel meh, and we all know that feeling, so it's a perfect way to describe it. So what's more important to you? The relief of eating the food or avoiding feeling meh
I prefer
afterwards?
avoiding feeling ma.
Yeah. So why then, and perhaps it might change after this conversation, but why aren't your actions in alignment with what you say is more important to you?
That is my question to you in the sense of like, I'm not logical. Why am I doing this?
Well, you do
But
have a restrictive history, put it that
yeah.
way. So there is a part of you that always feels safer eating anyway because of all the restriction you've done in the past.
Hmm.
But there's some work to do in terms of like giving yourself full permission for two things to give yourself full permission for to eat the food anyway and just take responsibility for the fact that you might feel meh after. And that's okay. Or to
But
give yourself, sorry, go on.
no, sorry, I was just gonna say I feel a bit of restriction. Not I don't feel comfortable with what you just said.
In
Like,
what way?
sorry, I don't want to be responsible for that.
Oh, why not? We don't want to be responsible as humans, by the way. That's we avoid it at all costs until we're like, oh shit, everything is my responsibility in my life and I get to take
Yeah,
ownership of that.
yeah, yeah. That's scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because like I don't know, I don't want to take responsibility for something like I'm not happy with or proud of or um
What other choice do you have though?
that's not aligned with my values.
So
No, I
then if
have
it,
no other choice. I need to take
yeah,
responsibility.
right, if it's not aligned with your values, then you can choose by giving yourself permission not to have the food because you can have the food or not have the food.
Mm.
No one actually cares apart from you because it's a thing
Mhm.
working through
Mhm.
this. So if you
Yeah.
give yourself full permission, either way, that's important. Allowance, as everyone knows me by now, is key. Allowance is always key. But I think the nail on the head here is you avoiding responsibility. And responsibility doesn't mean you're bad or wrong or oh, look what you've done now. Responsibility doesn't mean consequence in the way that we see a consequence negatively. Responsibility just means if I have this and I don't want it, I will most likely feel this after.
Yeah.
And I'll take responsibility for that. Or if I don't want that, I'll just make a different choice because either way is fine. It's what I want most in the moment. Take pressure off yourself. There's a lot of pressure you put on yourself with that word responsibility. I've been there.
Mm.
I used to eat, as you know, eat a lot of chocolate in the evening. And during
Yeah.
hay fever season, like now, because chocolate's high in histamine, it makes my hay fever so bad. Like my eyes are itching, I'm sneezing like 50 times in a row. So sometimes though, I will be like, you know what? The sneezing is so worth it because I want all this chocolate. And that's okay. But I take full responsibility for the fact that when I'm sneezing in an hour and tomorrow, I'm not going to be bitching about the fact that I'm sneezing and I've got really bad hay fever the next day. And sometimes I'm like, do you know what? In this moment, because every moment is different, every moment of now is different, whether it's now today or now next week or now next month. In this moment, it's not worth it to me because maybe I'm going out to a baby shower tomorrow and don't want to be sneezing and my eyes running all day. So I'm going to choose not to have it and I'll have some tomorrow, see how I feel. So can you see that it's not from a place of like I shouldn't have it, I should have it. It's not a panic in my brain the way I'm talking to myself. It's just me being like, okay, what choice do I want to make and what's the consequence without it being negative? Just I guess cause and effect is a better way than consequence of
Mm.
what I'm going to do. And both of it is okay.
Yeah.
Does
So
that
I
help?
think in the moment when I'm about to need or want, I don't feel like I'm uh, like able to have that sort of okay, like Katinka, do you want to take responsibility? It's like
Keep going. Tell me what it's like because this will be gold, what comes up.
no, but it's like I need to have it like no matter like I can't sit there and rationalize what I'm doing. It's like a craving. It's I don't feel like I'm in control.
Hmm. and we aren't in control, and that's a good
No, I
thing.
know.
Yeah, the opposite of control isn't out of control, it's freedom, freedom of choice around food
Okay,
especially.
sorry, yeah, I don't feel like I have a choice.
Okay, that means there's still restriction going on because
Mm,
allowance always creates space for choice. If you give yourself full allowance to eat all the things and feel shit after, and it's okay, and full
mm,
allowance to not eat the thing and not feel shit after, and that's okay too, you then are left with a space, like emotionally, to make a choice.
mhm.
Allowance creates space for choice. So I already knew from the words you were using, like willpower, like needing to, there's some kind of, it's that judgment.
Yeah, but
I
you're
would
right, I'm
say,
not allowing.
why not? What's the fear there? Apart from feeling physically shit, because no one likes to feel meh.
I think it's the meh and the weight gain.
Yeah. It usually always points to the fear of weight gain. So then we dive
Mm,
there. It's like, okay, what does that mean? If you were to gain weight, why would that not be okay? What's panicking you about that?
like all the same old stuff.
That's okay. What is it? Repetition is a mother of all learning. The amount of times I had to say this to myself and have my coach say it over and over again, like, what does weight gain mean? And then what? And then what? Then I'll be like so
Mm,
bored of my own bullshit about the fear. I'll be like, do you know what? Fuck this.
mm,
So don't feel any shame or embarrassment about the same thing, because trust me, if anyone could have seen me before I am the person I am today, I remember Rocky said to me one time, I sent her a picture of my old like positivity circles where I used to hate my body and how I worked through that. And she was like, oh my God, I can never imagine you being in that spot. And I was like, trust me, I was in that for a long time.
mm,
So it just takes consistency and work and facing those
yeah.
fears. So finish this sentence. If I gain more weight, then
I won't feel good in my body, I won't be confident, I won't be, um, fitting in my clothes, I won't be liked, I won't be loved, um, people will judge me and say I'm, like, lost control. Yeah, the list goes on.
yeah. So apart from not fitting in your clothes, which is a physical, tangible thing that you can change, are you willing to be wrong about all of those limiting beliefs?
I want to be wrong, yeah.
Are you willing to be wrong? As in, are you willing to do the work to explore, to dive deep into them, to allow yourself to eat the food, even if you like all that, want and willing are two different things.
Yeah. I think I am, but I'm willing to do it if, like, the rest of the world does it too, not just
That would
me.
be nice. Everyone else worked on their own fat phobia as well as us. That would be nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And so am I right in saying that if everything could point to one thing for you, it's fear of judgment from others?
So, I yes, but I still think that it was if I was on a desert island with
Mhm.
no one, like, I would still not want to, like, feel how I feel when I'm gaining weight. Like, it's also a feeling, right?
Yeah. Physically, with the way your body physically feels as a
Yeah,
body growing, or
yeah,
emotionally, or both.
both.
Yeah, because emotional stuff, that's just limiting beliefs, self-love, all that stuff can
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
absolutely worked on. The physical stuff, like, if someone says to me, but Victoria, I literally can't tie my shoe because my belly's in the way,
Mm,
I'm not going to coach her through that and pretend it's not real because it's real for her. So then
yeah.
that would be where we would mourn the loss of the thinner body. Because if this metaphorical person had a thinner body and a smaller stomach, she would have to restrict for the rest of her life, which we know doesn't work. It doesn't make us happy, all the things. So it's a case of then exposure therapy with your bigger body, and then just kindly and politely and lovingly getting used to your bigger body.
Mm,
And then you'll have to mourn the loss more when it feels like it's not fair, etc.
yeah. So it's interesting in the sense of like I do feel, I'm able to eat all foods and all of that. I think what's really bothering me at the moment is like these binges of not enjoying and not wanting. because I've obviously done a lot of work with you, and I feel that I'm, accepting that I will never be like thin and like my body this and that. But what I really struggle with is these moments of like that don't feel healthy, if that makes sense. Like I have no problem with going to a market and having like a double ice cream with a like if I'm really enjoying it and it's do you see what I mean? So I'm allowing in that way. It's more the sense of eating loads when I'm not hungry or where yeah,
So
or
I would, number one, give yourself full permission to not have the food and to have the food, full emotional
mhm,
permission to do both. Number
mhm,
two, allow yourself to experience pleasure. And if the pleasure's not there, the pleasure that you're seeking, if it's not there, give yourself full permission to stop and continue. It's that full
mhm,
permission to do both, but it's the awareness of like, right, let's see how much pleasure I can receive from this experience. Let me just be really conscious with what this experience, the eating, is giving me. And then in the moment, I get to choose whether to keep going or not, knowing that
mm,
if I keep going, it doesn't mean anything bad about me. I just might feel not great physically,
yeah,
and just come at it from like curiosity and compassion instead of judgment. So that panic, you might feel like I need to have it. Just give yourself a minute, take a breath, give yourself full permission to have it, full permission not to have it, and then full permission to have pleasure, and just see how you feel with that, because it's not about, because it the simple solution is we'll just choose not to do it. But if you're not able to choose not to do it, there's a restrictive mindset going on. And then we both know any restriction creates an equal and opposite reaction.
yeah,
So it's working on that mental restriction, and then go back through the modules with the health at every size and the healthy without dieting section,
yeah,
and get back in touch with I can feel good in my body without anything to do with restriction, and get back in touch with that aspect, and
mhm,
be gentle with yourself because you've had a lot going on
yeah.
in your
But you know
life.
what I mean? It's just so boring to think about food the whole day.
You don't have to think about it the whole day. It's in those moments
Yeah,
where it's in your head and you're feeling that, oh my God, I need to eat it.
mhm,
Just take a breath and be like, well, I don't have to eat it. I can eat it if I want to, and that's fine. And I also don't have to eat it, and it's okay. And just be curious and compassionate to yourself.
yeah.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Good. And now having, I mean, I think going forward, I'm just going to use Zoom anyway because it's easier. Clearly, because Circle didn't like me today with my audio either. But the group in Circle, the support group, I love being in there. So have a little nosy and reach out to us. We're all in there to support each other. So don't just disappear unless you want to, of course, but allow, share with us how you've got on. And because coaching can continue in the group, as you know.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're not in this alone. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, sweetheart. I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Just going to tick off my list. And now we've got Georgia, I think. So I was asking the other Georgia, sorry, the other Georgia. Now we have the actual Georgia who wants coaching. So do you want to just unmute yourself, lovely?
Hello.
Hello, Queen G.
Hello. So what do I want coaching with? A few of my questions have been answered with that, like talk with Katinka. So basically, my hunger is going down, and I'm not sure if I'm eating less because it feels good or if I'm restricting.
Oh, tell
And
me, tell me more.
yeah, it's an interesting one. I feel a lot more comfortable with what I'm eating, and I feel like if I want something, I'm allowing myself to have it.
Good.
Um, then equally, I notice that some days, for example, I want a little bit less than the day before, and then I start doubting whether do I want that because I had a lot like earlier on in the day, or there's just a lot of doubts, and I'm very fearful of falling back into restrictive behaviors.
Yes.
And every time I have something that's like, because I had, let's say maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, a very like routine scheduled way of eating with like my meals and my snacks, and there were big meals and snacks. And after a few, like I was doing that for a while, and then I noticed that it was starting to not feel as good.
Yes.
So then I started playing around with it and maybe like saying to myself, if I don't want a dessert after lunch, then I don't have to have it. I can have it later on in the day. And so I've started doing things like that. And sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. But the days where I don't, there's always that thought at the back of my mind, like, am I doing this because I'm restricting? Am I doing this? And so I'm just doubting it a lot.
Yeah. And in a way, if you look at it from a different perception, you're being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Protective of your recovery, which is beautiful, right? You've worked so bloody hard to get to where you are now. And I had this experience too. I was so almost like overprotective of my recovery that I would find myself eating the things when I didn't want them, which is like a theme on this course so far.
Yeah.
But then there was part of me that was like, yeah, but I've had an eating disorder for 20 years and I'm not going into restriction again. So it makes sense to have the food anyway.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's always okay to eat. Even if we're not
Yeah.
hungry, it's always okay to eat. But just before we go into the coaching, can you acknowledge that you're actually being protective of your recovery? And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I understand that. And I think it's coming from a place of just wanting to stay in recovery and not slip back. So yeah.
Yeah. So what if you weren't in recovery anymore? What if you were just living in freedom and you just got to choose because you trust yourself now?
What do you mean by what if?
Because, and again, I think Teresa's on this call. I'm not sure because I can't see everybody. Teresa and I had a conversation once and we was talking about always being in recovery, always being in recovery. And sometimes that can keep us in the recovery process other than being recovered. Do you see what I mean? So, oh,
Yeah.
Teresa is there. Yeah, great. So sometimes, like if we're saying, if you think of two versions of you, the version of you that is in recovery, active word from anorexia,
Mhm.
and the recovered version of you, how are they different and which one do you resonate with most?
I still resonate more with the in recovery.
Okay, great. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
But can you see looking at it from a bit of a different angle? Like, what if I was already recovered?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're fully there, and I'm not saying like it's always okay to eat. If in doubt, eat.
Mhm.
But if you look at it from that place, like what if I was actually already in complete freedom? And
Yeah.
what if I wasn't afraid of restriction because I just don't do that anymore?
Yeah.
Would it feel better when you're making the choice to have it later or tomorrow if you don't want it?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And it feels kind to myself, and like it feels like if I say that, like it feels like a celebration almost.
Yeah.
Um so it feels really strange. But also, so I don't know if this is like just a pattern of recovery, and I know that recovery is not linear or anything, but like there's some days where I feel much more in recovery, and there's some other days where I feel recovered, and even like moments in a day, like
Mm-hmm.
I could be having a terrible morning, and then in the afternoon I could be like just floating around with a free mind, and I don't know if that's just like the fluctuation is just all part of it, or
It is part of it. And you also get to have a say in what you experience in your life. So
Mhm.
when we're doing what we do in our life is important. So, for example, when I first came to the Netherlands and I couldn't speak Dutch and still can't, not going to lie. But it doesn't matter now because I speak English all day, every day on Zoom. I got a job cleaning student toilets and student showers. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best job, but it was a job and I was earning money and I was able to listen to podcasts, which I was grateful for. And that's what led me to actually recovering. But because
Mhm.
I really didn't like the job, I looked forward to every day binging my face off. Like from the moment it hit 12 o'clock, I would give myself permission to then eat. So because I didn't like what I was doing day to day, my focus would go to food because it would bring me comfort, it would distract
Yeah.
me. And so if you also notice, there might be a pattern, there might not, when you're having a quote unquote bad morning, is something external affecting your mood? Are you doing something you don't want to do? Because now we get to look at the bigger picture of your life. Obviously, sometimes in life we can't always do what we only want to do. But if you're creating a life for yourself that you love in general, you then have more power to be like, you know what, I'm just going to choose to focus on this today, and your thoughts come easier. Did
Yeah.
that make sense? So if you describe, if have you seen a pattern emerge?
Yeah, definitely. I think when so it's not necessarily a pattern, but when I am around other people, and I'm thinking here of like family members, like people that know how much I've struggled, like my mum, my sister, I feel like I almost mm, it's like I act more in recovery than I actually
Yeah.
am. And then when I'm on my own, I'm just quite happy. I'm not like there's still so many more things that I want to do in my life, but I'm just quite content. Like I don't necessarily love my job, but I know that it's not going to be forever, and I trust that that'll change whenever it needs to. And but then when I'm around other people, it's almost like I want to prove to them that I am okay. So, for
Mm.
example, if I go out for lunch with a family member or for a coffee, I always feel obliged to like choose something that is very, I'm going to call it like very extreme hunger food.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I'm
and
loving where this is going. So you use
yeah,
the word prove to them. And I feel I'm not going to say I'm going to ask questions to see if you find it yourself. This is what I see. What does it mean if you're proving to them that you're okay? Like, what are you actually doing? Why is that behavior happening?
people pleasing.
Tell me more. In what
Um,
way? An easier way to answer. What if you didn't choose a calorific
hmm,
cake, hot chocolate, whatever at the coffee shop? What then?
I
If you
feel
didn't
like
want it, obviously.
it would be, I don't want them to be worried about me. So it's like I am also like, so reassuring them. And then also I feel like I've had years of people like worrying about what I'm eating, what I'm doing.
Mm.
Um, so it almost like if I go out and show someone that I'm eating this or like having whatever, then it stops that conversation of after of like, oh, I'm a bit worried about you because that conversation I've had it so many times and it really I hate it so much.
Yeah.
So
So
like it avoids that.
there's a few things going on. You're a very caring person. So you want to reassure your loved one that you're okay because you care about them. And there's a part of you feeling responsible for someone else's emotions.
Mm,
It's not your responsibility to make them feel at ease and safe all the time because they're their own person and you're your own person. So there's a bit of work to do around feeling responsible for others' emotions, especially. And there's the practical side of avoiding a conversation that happens over and over again. But this is where you get to lean into, I want to say the word boundaries, but reassuring boundaries to share with them. Listen, I know that you might be feeling fear because I've not had this or I've not had that, but I assure you I am strong in my recovery. And
mm,
it's just because I genuinely didn't want it. So I appreciate it might be worrying for you, but I would really appreciate it if you would just treat me like I've never had an eating disorder before.
yeah.
Because in recovery land, in freedom, we get to live and act and behave like we've never had an eating disorder before. And when I said to you at the beginning that you are being very protective of your recovery, like I used to be, even then, when we're acting in protection of our recovery, we're still showing ourselves that we've had an eating disorder. It's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. It's not like we forget our past, like we own the shit out of our past and it's led us to who we are today. But we're still living in reaction to an eating disorder in one way or another.
Yeah. 100%. And I feel like that when I do act like that, it only makes it's almost like it taps into that like scarcity mindset that I've got still. And if I forget that it's there, if I forget that I've ever had an eating disorder, sometimes like I struggle a little bit and I have to give myself a little bit of a talking to and get back on it. But like it's easier. Whereas if I start doubting myself and overthinking, then it's like I act up to it. Like I play up to having an eating disorder more when I like try and protect my recovery. It's like so
Yeah,
then
and
it starts
it's
a cycle.
okay. It's okay to protect your recovery, but it's also okay to, with kindness, say to yourself, we don't have an eating disorder anymore. We
Yeah.
get to live as a woman who doesn't have an eating disorder anymore.
Mhm.
So then what does that actually look like? Does
Yeah.
it look like me going out for tea and cake with my mum and me genuinely not wanting a cake and maybe take one back for later if I think I'll want one later, but not having to act like I'm still in recovery when actually I'm probably just recovered already? So it's again giving yourself permission to live
Yeah.
without an eating disorder, even without being protective of your recovery from an eating disorder. And that's complete freedom, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I think yeah, that makes sense. I think as well I need to maybe just accept that some days are better than others as well, and like sometimes I do need to be more protective, and like
Yes,
when I'm feeling more vulnerable, if I'm tired, if I've got a lot going on, and then sometimes when I do feel more free and at peace, I can lean into that more.
absolutely. Life is just riding the waves of the sea.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I've learned that the waves are never as big as they were when we were in the eating disorder, but
mhm,
life still just happens. Life happens, you know? So allow it all, ride the waves, learn to surf. Even, I think it was Buddha that says the greatest form of suffering is attachment. And that even means when we're attaching to a day when we feel really good.
yeah,
Even like in the moment, let's say a butterfly comes and lands on your hand or something, us trying to hold on to that moment when it's gone, that's causing some kind of suffering within us because we're not in the present moment that's happening then after the butterfly's gone.
mhm, yeah,
And the meaning of life, not the meaning of life, but a rule of life is impermanence and polarity. Nothing is permanent and everything has an equal and opposite to it.
yeah,
And we cannot control and cling on to what we would prefer to have out of what life offers us. We get to
yeah,
create and manifest and choose our thoughts,
mhm,
but we don't get to control shit.
yeah, and that we can. I feel like I'm learning that I can cope with everything. I can cope with the instability more. So
Yes.
I can cope with the not so good times, and then I can like enjoy the better times, the nicer times, and then just
That's a
accept it.
gift. An
Yeah.
even deeper spiritual growth for you here is to replace the word good and bad times with just. I was watching Kung Fu Panda the other week, and it was the first one. And the old, I can't remember what creature it was, the old guy who's like the old
Yeah.
sage, he said, okay, I'm butchering this. Panda said to the old man, I've got good news and bad news, or something like that. And this old sage says, there is no such thing as good or bad news, it's just news.
Mhm.
So if
Yeah.
we get to live from that place, like, yeah, we have different emotions, but why are we labeling happy as good and sad as bad, other than just a feeling that we feel that goes again?
Yeah. They're all just part of life, moments in life.
Absolutely. They come and they go, and we probably will enjoy more things than the other. But if we
Mhm.
stop labeling them as good or bad, even if we swap to challenging, if
Yeah.
if we swap bad to start with I've had a challenging day today,
Yeah.
because words are very powerful and we start to see them differently. So instead of saying I've had a really good day because this, and this has gone my way and the sun's been shining, well, then automatically we're creating the opposite of that to be bad.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
get to actually just live life without making anything mean anything, and we just experience emotions and feelings and live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just accepting that it all flows nicely.
Absolutely. There's a book. I think you probably won't need to read it because you're out of this, but this is one for you to read with you being in training for a coach, because it's going to help your clients and everyone else wants to read this. It's quite a spiritual book. It's called, oh my God, what's it called? Something like, I'll post it in the group, The Gift of Uncertainty. And I'll post it in the group because I can't think who the author is. And it's basically a whole book about nothing's certain. We have no ground. Things happen. We can't control anything, but actually being okay in that complete uncertainty of life.
Yeah.
Pema Trojan is the author, but I'll post it in the group because I'm probably saying the title wrong.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, so just keep doing what you're doing. Allow yourself to live without an eating disorder and just see what happens. Pema Trojan, thank you, Teresa. Yeah, just see what happens.
Thank you.
You're doing awesome, Georgia.
Thank you.
Yay. All right, my love, off the list. Do we have Cecilia here? Let's see. If you are here, can you just unmute yourself? Actually, maybe you're not. Don't think you are. Anyone else that would like coaching, because I can't see everyone, please just feel free to unmute and speak, and I can support you. Let me change my view so I can see everybody now. Else I will pick on someone very nicely. Let me see then. Tammy, does that mean you would like coaching because you put your video on?
Yes, it does. Can you hear me
Yay!
okay? I'm sitting here, I've got a cat snuggling in my
Oh.
arms.
He or she?
It's a she.
Oh, look at her. She's adorable. What's her name?
Well, she kind of has several different names. I've had a hard time sticking one, but Miss seems to fit her because she is quite the little princess.
Oh, I would upgrade her to Queen.
Yeah, yeah, she's soft like a rabbit.
Oh, she's
Very,
adorable. And I love the way that she's just got that marking like on the top of it, like,
and the
oh,
tail.
it's there too. Wow. She's beautiful. She's very chilled.
Yeah, she's like a noodle. She's just totally relaxed in my arms and she
Oh,
loves to snuggle. And since
gorgeous.
it's bright and early here in the US in Montana,
Yeah, I was going to ask you where you were from, Montana. What time is it for
Montana,
you?
it is 6:30, quarter to 7 a.m.
Wow.
here. Yeah,
Thank you
bright
for
and early.
being here. I think
Yeah,
Rocky in the chat, I think Rocky's the same time zone as you. I know she gets up ridiculously early because she wants to, but I think
right.
she's also an early bird like
Mm,
you.
right. Yeah, I'm typically an early bird, but yeah, on a Saturday morning, it's just like, yeah, this is okay. I'll make this sacrifice because
Yay. Well,
I just discovered you and I am absolutely loving your work.
thank you.
I am a coach, and this is an area that I just can't get a hold of.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with a lot right now. I have a husband with a brain injury, and my mom is spiraling downward with dementia. And so I have a lot on my plate and
Mm,
not as much pleasure in my life as I would like. And I find that I'm eating. And with my mom and I, it's always been we diet together, we binge together.
yes.
And so now that I'm her primary caregiver, we're, going on coffee dates and we're always finding an excuse for ice
Mm,
cream and, trying to find the happy in these moments. And yet she's losing weight because she's not eating when we're not together.
right.
And I'm at the edge of my wardrobe and I'm not very happy about that.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're acknowledging you've got a lot going on because that's a
Mhm.
lot from all
Mhm.
angles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's worth
Yeah.
just acknowledging to yourself first. And what's so wrong about having emotional comfort from food at this time?
You know, there probably isn't. It's my whole I'm 61 and I have been struggling. I'm short like you are. I'm busty. I said I'm built like a Norwegian draft horse. I'm not a thoroughbred.
Yeah.
I have really good endurance. I'm strong. But I've always had body issues. I was sexually abused as a young child and for quite some time. And so, built all of that. The fat defense subconsciously, I really think. And then being teased about it, so ever since I was a young child, I have battled this body image issue. And, despite all of the efforts of the dieting, it hasn't worked. And so I understand so much, but it's still that same narrative in my head is that it's wrong for me to be in a particular size, and trying to unplug from that whole diet mentality has just been really, really difficult.
Yeah, especially with your mom and then others around you also being in that diet
Mhm.
mentality, right? It's
Right.
hard, but you can get out of it. So have you done any deeper work with like maybe timeline therapy or inner child work with the parts of you that were bullied for being in the body that you were in?
I have not. I've done a lot of forgiveness work, but I
Yeah.
haven't done the parts work.
So we can go there together now if you're up for it. It's a closed eye process.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yeah.
everyone can join along, of course. And then when I ask Tammy directly, then just replace your name with Tammy's. Okay. And I always close my eyes too, because I don't know what's going to come through me, because we'll find out together. So I assume you're sitting comfortably with a nice little warm pillow on your lap, being the cat.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you're ready, allow your eyes to close. And then just focus inwards. So, whatever that means to you, it could be that you automatically go to your breath to focus on. It could be you automatically just focus on your physical sensations on your body, or it could be something else. Whatever it means to you to just focus inwards, allow it to happen now.
My cat's relaxing with
Oh,
me.
there you
She
go.
just sighed.
What a gift. So feel that relaxation from you, from the cat, just allowing to just wash over your entire body. Feel some gratitude to the chair that's just supporting your physical body and the cat's as well. And just allow yourself to melt and fully relax. Any tension that wants to leave your body, give it full permission to do so. Maybe you can see it, feel it, sense it just leaving your physical presence. It can come back later if it thinks it has a job to do. But for now, just fully relax and just listen to my voice. Good. And I would like you to just practice leaving your physical body and hovering above where you are now. So let me know if you can like either feel or sense or envision you leaving your body and looking down on where you're sat right now. Let me know when you can feel, sense, or imagine that.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, great. So let's practice just going along your timeline. So if you could float back along your timeline to last week, so this time last week, can you float down to that moment and tell me what it is that you were doing this time last week, just roughly?
I would have been having my quiet time. I typically get up in the morning fairly early and I read my Bible, I pray, I meditate, I journal.
Love. Okay, great. So then float back up along your timeline. And now, as one last practice, float into the future. So float to Sunday evening, your time. And of course, the future's not happened yet. Well, it has. You're remembering the future right now, but in this physical body, it's not experienced yet. So float down to Sunday evening and just tell me what perhaps you might be doing on next Sunday evening.
I'm out watering my flowers. just kind of winding down for the week and thinking about the upcoming week, that the things that need to be done.
Great.
Thinking about the pedicure that I have scheduled with my mom.
Lovely. That sounds and when's that, on Monday?
Monday.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Okay, great. So float back up. Okay, so what you're going to do now is float back along your timeline, and you're going to stop when your intuition tells you to stop, and you're going to go back. You're not going to go into the moment yet. You're going to hover above it. You're going to go back to the first time you can ever remember having an experience that you felt like your body wasn't okay, perhaps for the first time. So float back and then tell me what age you are when your intuition tells you to stop.
This is weird. It's like I'm toggling between second and third grade. And I know that that's about the time that the abuse started. I don't know exactly when,
Yeah.
but it feels like somewhere in between those times
Okay.
that's when it really started.
Okay, great. So allow your intuition to guide you down on your timeline. It doesn't matter if you know an exact age, but between second and third grade, your intuition's going to show you, well, we're going to float down together in a moment, something that was happening. So an experience you had where your body was told, or through words, through lack of words, it doesn't have to be words, that your body was told that it's not okay. And tell me when you can see an experience being shown to you, when that was.
It feels like it's in the girls' bathroom at school about that time. I mean, I'm not getting super clear, but I definitely can see the bathroom and there's girls in there. Yeah.
Okay, great. So float down into that experience, knowing that at any point you can take how old would you have been there roughly in age?
Probably about 7.
7. So knowing at any time you can take that 7-year-old you out of this experience at any time. So you float down into that experience and you're watching what's going on. So do you mind sharing out loud? And if you don't want to do it out loud, that's okay. Just let me know when you're doing it in your head. What's happening? You're watching 7-year-old you and you're in the girls' toilets. What's happening?
The impression that I'm getting, it's not super clear, but the impression that I'm getting is that a couple of the other girls are being really catty and make some comment about my body, what I'm wearing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And how does 7-year-old you feel in this
dev
experience?
devastated.
Yeah. So if you can speak to that 7-year-old you and you can ask her something, you can say something to her, she can ask you anything, what conversation would you like to have in that moment?
Tammy, there is absolutely nothing wrong with your body. There's nothing wrong with what you're wearing. You are perfectly and wonderfully made. There are no flaws in you. You are God's creation, and He loves you dearly. He designed you so uniquely, so perfectly. And these girls have their own pain that they're dealing with, and they're taking that pain out on you.
Mm.
They're wanting you to suffer so they don't feel their own pain.
Mm.
So, Tammy, you are fine. You're going to get through this.
Mm.
You don't have to receive the hateful words that they're telling you
Yeah.
because they're not true. They are absolutely not true.
Mm.
Your little body is going to change so much in the next, over a lifetime. Your body will go through lots of ebbs and flows. It's just a natural progression of life. And we are all created so uniquely. Some people will be willowy, tall, willowy and short, and other people are strong and stocky. And that's perfectly fine. So, Tammy, disregard these words. Disregard this pain that other people are trying to inflict on you, and be at peace with who God created you to be.
That is beautiful. How does little Tammy feel receiving
Ooh.
these words?
That feels pretty amazing.
Yes. Okay, you and little Tammy are going to do an exercise together right now. It's a visualization, so stay where you are with her, rock her, hug her, just feel all that love between you both. And you're both strong enough to do this. I'm being called to guide you through this experience. So you can take yourself out of the toilet. So take little Tammy somewhere where she would like to be. So where does she choose to be? Somewhere that's safe, that's comfortable. Where does she want to go?
On her horse in the woods.
I'm a horse girl too. Yes.
I know that.
Yes. Okay, so you're in the woods. Are you riding the same horse, or are you riding different horses, or are you just together?
I'm riding.
Okay, so you're both riding this. I mean, you are her and she is you. And you're riding this beautiful horse, and you can smell the woods around you, and you just feel content and at home, completely at ease in your body, both versions of you. And as you're riding this horse and you're walking, because we're going to have to focus as well, so you just casually, the horse is just walking through the woods. And you imagine, so these versions of you, the version of you now, the version of you in this experience with little Tammy, and the 7-year-old Tammy, all at the same time, because you are one, are going to imagine all the people, all the women that came before you. So your parents, your grandparents, your grandparents' parents, etc., all your ancestors that had this generational trauma passed down to them through one way or another, that their body is not okay, they are not enough, they need to change. So allow yourself, because you're capable of just holding, and just for now, just holding on to and noticing the pain, the emotional pain of all that come before you in your bloodline when they were told their body's not okay, they're not enough. And maybe see it open like an upside down pyramid. So you and little Tammy are the point, and it's like an hourglass. And at the top, you're seeing all this ancestry pain, where it perhaps started at the beginning, how it was passed down, how their mothers taught their children taught their children, etc. And let me know when you can sense, feel this, what I'm guiding you to be in right now. Let me know when you can feel and sense that.
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay, good. So now, knowing that you and little Tammy are the hourglass, there's the smallest point in the middle, imagine another pyramid, but the upright position this time, going down the other way into your future. So you are the point, then it gets bigger and bigger until the base of the pyramid. This is all the women that come after you, including this version of you, including little versions of you, your children's children, etc. This stops with you and little Tammy now. All this ancestry pain, these beliefs of I am not good enough, my body needs to change. This stops with you right now, because you choose to, and you have the power to heal all of this. And allow yourself to look forward to the future now, including the life that you've already lived up until this point. See how your life has changed when 7-year-old you decided to end all of this ancestry pain, and know that she is enough, and know that her body is exactly perfect for her. And then allow yourself to go into the future and see the generations to come living in genuine self-acceptance and self-love and body acceptance because of the decision you made that you're creating now. And see and feel that all the way into the future. And let me know when you can feel that.
It's a beautiful feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So see your timeline as you're still on this horse, you're still just chilling in the woods. See your timeline, even though, like I say, your life has happened up until this point. Allow yourself to replay your life again, the points that your intuition shows you. But this time it's different because this time you know that you are enough as you are. You know your body is perfect and unique to you. And God made you exactly the way that He has. And you own that shit. Just watch how your life pans out differently. Maybe same experiences, but you feel completely different in them. You
Yeah.
influence others around you in the most beautiful way because you're strong in who you are. And just see your life ahead of you from that place of infinite self-love and acceptance. And just breathe that all in. And allow that feeling to just go into every cell of your being now and 7-year-old you. That infinite love, acceptance, peace of who you are as you move through the world and create a different future for those that are to come. Your clients, people you meet in shops, just through your energy of love. Good.
Yeah, that takes a lot of weight away. It feels very energizing and life-giving.
Yes. And then bring your attention back to you and little you on the horse. And check in with 7-year-old Tammy. How does she feel right now?
Mhm. Giddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, free
Free.
from all that shame and condemnation, self-loathing, rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free. The truth will set you free, and the truth is that you are perfect exactly as you are. That's why it set you free, no matter what anybody else has said to you.
Yep.
Yeah. So allow yourself to just give little Tammy a big hug. She's galloping now. She's well away. She's
As
finding
in
logs to
giddy up.
jump. She's finding broken logs and trees and gates and all sorts to jump on a horse now. So she's having a whale of a time. And you lovingly just leave her to that. And you float back above your timeline. And as you come along your timeline back to now, allow anything that hasn't been put into place how you like it to be to just shift intuitively into place. Decisions that you might have made differently, the way you love yourself now, just allow anything to shift into an alignment with love. Maybe at the same time you can influence your mother, send her extra love, send her the power and the awareness to see that she gets to love herself too. Her body's also always been okay, exactly as it was. And keep the lessons you've learned along the way, the characteristic you've built up within you as you move along your timeline, with this newfound sense of peace and self-love and acceptance. As you get closer to the time that we are in now. And then before you know it, you're floating back above your body now, in this moment on a Saturday morning for you. And then you come back into your body. So ground, allow yourself to be in your physical body. Feel the roots from your feet down into the ground. Mother Earth is there. Feel the warmth of that beautiful cat on your lap and her heartbeat and your heartbeat. Just breathe together Allow your heart chakra to open, to just fill every cell of your being up with infinite love and acceptance of who you are. Allow yourself to swell with gratitude for the body you have now, a body that is perfect for you, because that's why you have this body. Give gratitude to the food that is comforting you right now in these moments of challenging times. And that's so, it's all okay. It's all okay. Just be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. Give love to that incredible body of yours and also who you are. And then just put some attention to your right toe, your big toe on your right foot. Imagine the blood being pumped to your right toe. Imagine the bone in your toe. Focus on your right toe. And now move your attention to your stomach. Allow your stomach to be completely relaxed, completely soft, completely at ease. Feel the love for the softness that is there, the womanness that is there, for she makes up who you are. And now pay attention to your heart. Feel that immense empowerment, that immense love for you, for everybody, for the entire world. We heal everything through love. Love is always the answer. And just feel that warmth that is there, always there. But now you're able to receive that love from yourself instead of just giving it to others. You receive it to you, from you as well. And now pay attention to any air in the room that you're sat in. So notice how the air feels around your face, maybe. Notice how your breath feels. And in a moment, when you do open your eyes, I want you to look at yourself on camera on this video and look at yourself through the eyes of unconditional self-love. So look at yourself through the eyes of God when you open your eyes in a moment. And all you will see is unconditional love and gratitude for life and who you are and how you are of service to this world with your clients and your parents. So in 3, 2, 1, open your eyes and see yourself through the eyes of absolute love and admiration, and just soak that all in.
Wow.
Ah, and I'm back in the room too. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. That was a beautiful experience.
Good. How do you feel within yourself?
I feel much, much lighter. I feel a lot of peace.
Good.
Yeah, a lot of peace.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you get to create this. And I know, that wasn't a minute long,
Mhm.
but you've healed a lot already energetically in
Mhm.
the past. You've been that stopping point. It's no coincidence you're a coach. It gets to end with you. It's ended with you. It's done.
Right. Mhm.
And you get to be that beacon.
I've done a lot of generational trauma breaking, particularly in the area of addiction and sexual abuse, but haven't gone down this path yet. And I know, I mean, for my mom's family, every one of them has been way, way, way overweight. I have 2 aunts that are 300-400 pounds, and they're short. So, it's obviously a trauma response.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so.
And it
So
ends with
yeah.
you. You've healed that. And then you
Mhm.
get to then now move forth into the world, whatever feels right for you, with care and compassion for yourself and your body. And that will
Mhm.
look like saying yes to cake. And sometimes it will look like saying no to cake, knowing you can have the cake if you want it anyway. And that's okay too.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so one of my struggles right now, I feel like, is my coffee. I have this ginormous cup. I have 2 in the morning, and I put a lot of heavy cream in there. And I know that, heavy cream is pretty tasty, but it also has a lot of calories. And when I try to reduce it, it's just like all of this chatter comes up. But yet my stomach doesn't necessarily love the dairy.
What chatter comes up?
It's almost like it's that whole binge restrict stuff, that it's like nobody's going to tell me I can't have this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the effort I'm having it anyway. And so, yeah, it's like that little inner child is like in complete rebellion.
Yes. And I've been there, right? So remember
Mhm.
how I said to Katinka, allowance always creates space for choice, and
Right.
choice is freedom. So if you give yourself, and little teenage you who's rebelling, because rebelling is definitely a thing when we've had a traumatic childhood, right? I'm sure you know
Yeah.
all about that. It's okay. So give yourself full allowance to have the cream or not to have the cream.
Right.
Because the moment you make it not okay to have the cream is the moment that inner you will be like, fuck that, I'm going to rebel against my own rule. Thank you very much.
Right.
I want the
Well,
cream.
and the story I tell myself, well, I don't like anything else as good as what I do with my coffee. I mean, I can have Earl Grey tea with honey and a splash of cream, but then it's like, well, I've got all the honey calories. And so it's like, I'm not finding anything that is nearly as wonderful to consume. Um,
So don't
that's
give it
just,
up. I know that might sound like ridiculous advice, Tammy, but I want you to practice letting go of calories, pretend they don't exist, and start trusting that your unique body, as with all of our unique bodies, has their own built-in calorie counter. And that is through intuition, desire, hunger, satisfaction, and allow
Mhm.
yourself to be guided by that. So if you absolutely adore your coffees with cream, allow yourself to adore your coffee with cream without making it bad or wrong. And then just stop paying attention to your body. So let's say you go out for your pedicure on Monday and you end up then going somewhere either for lunch or for a coffee or whatever, like after or before, with full permission and allowance. Just tune into your body and yourself and be like, what do I actually want? What feels
Mhm.
good right now? And then whatever you choose, allow yourself to just fully enjoy what you've chosen,
Right. Right. Yeah.
because nothing else works, right? The restriction doesn't
Yeah.
work anyway. So,
When you were talking with Katrinka, I saw that because last night my mom and I had had a late lunch and it didn't sit well in my stomach. But yet I wanted my ice cream, and it's like, but I don't want the ice cream, but you need ice cream. And it's that whole chatter back and forth. And yeah, my body didn't want the ice cream, but my
yeah,
brain wanted the pleasure. My brain
yes,
wanted that dopamine hit.
yeah.
And
And
because
that's okay.
yeah.
And that's okay. Something really weird and magical happens when you give yourself full permission. And I don't mean you don't have the ice cream. Whether you do or you don't, first of all, you have space to choose whether you actually want it or not, and you probably still will. But then your emotional experience is different when it's almost like, oh, like I can completely relax and enjoy the ice cream other than having it anyway and being a bit uptight that I really shouldn't be having this.
Hmm.
It's giving yourself full permission to enjoy it,
Yeah.
because not doing that doesn't work anyway,
Mm-mm. No.
right? I've had that
Yeah.
experience too. I've had the anorexia where I was very good at restricting, and then over time I lost the ability to restrict. I literally couldn't restrict anymore, and
Hmm.
all I was doing was binging all the time. So I thought, well, one of my mantras was, it wasn't all positive and flowery because those didn't work for me at the beginning because I didn't
Right.
believe them. But my mantra was, I can't control my food. Well, that was a positive because it can either be, oh my God, I can't control my food. I can't control my food. Or it can be, I can't control my food.
Yeah.
And then from that place of like surrender, you then get to choose, well, what do I actually want then? Like, what feels good to me right now? Because your body knows, and it's okay to eat emotionally with what you're going through right now. When we make
Mhm.
emotional eating not okay, that's when the binging happens, because it's that reaction to restriction, that judgment.
Right. Right. And growing up, food has always been a love language.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I mean, I love to cook and to do extravagant things for people with food, and
Mm.
it's my way of expressing my love for them. But then it's also how I've nurtured myself over all these years. But I mean, that was generational in my family as well. My
Yeah.
dad's mom was a fabulous cook. And, you know, I said, if you want to pay me the biggest compliment, tell me you're miserable after you've eaten because you've eaten so much you're in pain.
Right? So allow yourself to love that about you. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, I feel from where you are, the work you've done, the knowledge you have, I feel like part of your soul just needs a permission slip to be who you are.
yeah.
Love who you are. And
Hmm.
if health is important to you, you can absolutely work on health without any restriction.
Hmm.
I'm sure you've heard of health at every size. Have you read?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So we can do that. But the first thing is always to love ourselves exactly as we are, even the parts of us that we would change if we had a magic wand,
Right.
but we
Right.
don't. And
No.
so, we get to love all aspects of who we are
Yeah.
and stop trying to change who we are, because it doesn't, unless we want to for personal growth and evolution, of course. But in terms of your love for the coffee with the cream, for example, why would you want to give that up? Well, number one, you can't, because you rebel against your rule anyway. So
Hmm.
why would you then deny yourself of that beautiful life pleasure?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because, and I'm sure you see this in your work, is that the vision we have of ourselves is not the same as somebody else's.
No.
And a friend of mine who's this itty bitty tiny little mite of a lady, she's barely 5 foot tall, and if she weighs 100 pounds, she's just a little fireball. I love her dearly. And she said to me in January, she says, "Why are you always talking about your weight?" She says, "I never see your weight. I see a beautiful woman who's really put together, who has an incredible heart,
Mm,
and is such a service to this world."
yeah,
And I mean, I'm just like, why can't I see that?
you can.
I can see parts of it. I do get glimpses because I love helping other people
Hmm.
see all of their greatness. But yeah,
Yes.
I still fail to see it in myself.
Well, you can. You have the power to do that.
Hmm.
And that is through awareness, which you have a lot of, and through, like we did today. So whatever I did, whenever I had like a body image thing, or when I felt the immense heat of shame for looking a certain way, I would just close my eyes and just bring a version of me in the past. Usually it was like the 9-year-old me, and just give her some love and
Hmm.
reassurance, like you did so beautifully to 7-year-old you, because that's
Hmm.
what's really going on.
Right.
And then focus on, because you are where your attention is, right? Ask and it shall be given. Knock, I'm probably saying this wrong. Knock and
Yep.
the door shall be opened unto you.
Yep. Hmm.
Whatever you're choosing to pay your attention to, you will get. Whatever you look for, you will find. So if you're
Right.
looking for all those beautiful characteristics of who you are, like your friend can see so clearly, and so can I, you will see that yourself if you allow yourself to see it, if you look for it. But if you're looking for fatness, you'll also see that.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
don't forget that you have the power to choose what you want to see.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have it all. It's just practice.
Right. Yeah, and that's like I said, this is where I realize where my limitation is I've got a head full of information. It's the
Yes.
taking action part, because I said I don't know if I'm really ADHD or not, but it's like shiny object, shiny object. Oh, maybe
Yes.
this one will work, maybe that one will work. And it's just like, no, just sit in this place and do the
Ex
work.
exactly. Because that's distraction, isn't it? Distraction. And it's
Mhm.
chasing the fantasy of, oh, what if that will work? And then I'll be thinner, and then everything that thinness will bring me.
Mhm.
But it's like, what if I was just to stop doing and just be
Yeah.
who I am?
Mhm.
Because the best way to love yourself is to be yourself.
Right.
Doesn't mean you won't change over time, naturally, authentically. In each moment, you follow the breadcrumbs and do what feels right. But in each moment, the best way to love yourself is to be yourself.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because I think I mostly authentically show up as who I am.
Yeah.
Um, but yet there's this little thing in my head because I had a really interesting experience in the last year and a half at church. I walked into the room and this gentleman, I think he's a little bit younger than myself. And I mean, he's gray and he's got a belly and super nice guy, very kind and sweet. And he grabs me in this big, huge hug and he says, "There's my Tammy. There's my beautiful Tammy." And part of me is like, "I'm not
Yes.
your beautiful
Yes.
anything."
Yes.
And it was hard to receive that because part of it, because of the sexual abuse, having some guy, I mean, I know him, but I don't know him.
Mhm.
And having him grab me in a full frontal hug like that was a little bit disconcerting, but I know he was just being so sincere. And
Yeah.
it was just such an interesting thing for me to just have to stop and say, wow, this is what he sees. He's seeing my light.
Yeah.
He's not seeing my flaws, all the stuff that I'm focusing on. And so that's really stuck with me. And
So practice receiving that. And also,
Mhm,
you are showing up authentically, but the best way to love yourself is to be yourself, to be your authentic self, the one that
mhm,
God created, is
mhm,
to not reject any part of who you are. So when we're thinking, oh, I should lose weight, I need to look better, we're rejecting parts of self, and that's not who we are.
right,
That's not love, that's
right.
rejection.
Yeah,
So it's just that deeper work of like noticing when you're rejecting parts of self and meeting that with love and compassion and light, and then moving from that place, wherever that place takes you.
right.
Because who you
Yeah.
are is love, right? I think we're both in agreement with
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're
Yeah.
not being loving towards yourself, you're not being yourself
Right.
fully.
Yeah. 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 I see that.
Yeah. And love also can look like, you know what? What is best for me right now is to say no to this social event and have an early night. If you're
Hmm.
tired, like love comes in different, it's not always rainbows and flowers and butterflies. It's not letting
Hmm.
yourself off the hook. It's not giving yourself a permission slip to do nothing that serves you. You know what love is, and only you know
Hmm.
what that in the moment, what feels right for you.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting because I know physically I'm probably at the worst shape of my entire life. I mean, with horses, what that does to you. I haven't had
Yeah.
horses since my husband's accident 12 years ago, and just we had to move closer into the city for his health care. And so I don't have the natural built-in stuff. And my body really needs some good exercise, but I'm finding all these excuses to not. And it's like, but that's not loving, because loving
Yeah.
my body is laying on the floor, doing the stretches, doing the things that make it feel better.
Yes.
But
That's
yet
the
there's
love.
that resistance
The
to those
rebellion
things.
part of you. So there's a great book. I'm going to put two books in the group. I'm trying to think what it's called. It's not Family Constellations. It's I'll put it in the group. It's about, have you done part? I think you've done part work
A
before.
little
Like,
bit. Hmm.
yeah, but there's a book specifically for eating disorder recovery with part work. So that part of you that's rebelling, that has resistance against moving your body, there's a reason why she's rebelling. So get to know that. Like ask her, like, sweetheart, tell me what's going on. I hear you, I see you. What are you trying to protect me from? Because every part of you trying to protect you.
Right. Well, and probably the thing that has come to mind is that I exercise like a maniac, in my 20s and 30s, trying to have the body that culture told me I was supposed to have.
Yeah. So it's part of you is scared of going back down that route, and that's protection. And that's what, and thank you, Teresa. Teresa said internal family systems for eating
Okay,
disorder
yep.
recovery, but I'll post it in the group. That's beautiful, because the part of you that's rebelling is all loving you so much. It's wanting to protect you from doing the same shit again. That was
Right.
self-harming, not self-loving.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to create a different experience for yourself, that you get to always meet yourself with love and be like, I hear you, sweetheart. Like, I'm so pleased to hear that you have my best interests at heart. And I'm going to show you that you can trust me. It's going to be different this time. So let's just start with 1 time a week and then just see how it goes. Like, just meet yourself with that compassion and
Mm-hmm.
action, because we change our beliefs via action, right? We can't
Mm-hmm. Yep.
believe something without getting evidence of it happening for us.
Right.
And that's the hardest part. We have to take the action before we believe.
Yeah.
But we can take the action and create the belief, because our brain is always watching us. It learns from our behaviors. Let's train ourselves to be how we want to be. And love is always the answer for that. And that, like I say, tough love doesn't always necessarily mean doing nothing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It means putting your best interests at heart and doing that with effort.
Right. And I actually saw that about a month ago now. I was actually being more consistent about my exercise, and it was actually feeling really good. And then we had these freak windstorms, like F2 hurricane windstorms, come through here that we never have. We were without power for 7.5 days. So then, of
Whoa.
course, yeah, we had generators for backup to keep the refrigerator and everything. But then I got out of my routine. But I really saw the neural pathways, because 7.5 days, I'm still trying to flip light switches on.
Yeah, exactly. Automatically.
Yes. However, once the power came back on, I had already started building neural pathways in conserving water and doing all of the things that were necessary in order to live with the limitations.
Exactly. So you trained your brain via your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't perfect, right? There's times when you flip the switch on, you were like, oh yeah, duh, no power.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
allow yourself to make mistakes. When I say that in quotes, because I don't believe they're mistakes, we're just growing.
Right.
Because, and this is a quote that I got from a podcast that I listened to recently. It's such a beautiful quote. You are just a girl on a journey and a woman owning her power all at the same time.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
I'll pop the podcast in the group too. Well, I mean, because I want to give credit to the woman who I can't remember her name is. What a saying, right? Because we get to be both.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Georgie. Yeah, we'll go soon too. Yeah, you are a girl on your journey and a woman owning her power. Train yourself, train your brain how you want it to behave. Meet yourself with love. Give yourself full permission to love who you are. And then make choices from that place of already enough, not needing change for anyone.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to meet you, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you for
This
being
has been
here.
great.
Good.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And everyone else here as well, thank you for being here. Sorry for the thing on Circle. I'm just going to use Zoom from now on. It makes sense. I'll pop the recording in there. I'll pop the podcast and the 2 books. And so much love to all of you. And I'll see you next time. Loads of love. Have a beautiful weekend. Thank you, ladies. Mwah. Bye-bye.